2년 전에 정말 한 세트 차이로 우승을 못했어요. 하지만 이번에는 그런 일이 없도록 꼭 우승하고 싶어요.
I think I'm a player that kind of seeks glory. I like to have the idea of a legacy behind me. I was really, really close last year, so it would feel amazing to win this year.
It wouldn't be a mid-season brawl without an epic conclusion here for the tournament, as we have the runner-up from 2016 going up against the runner-up from 2017. Here in 2018, we crown one of them a grand champion on one of the biggest stages of them all. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the analysis desk as we get down to business. To my left-hand side, I have Gilly, I have J-How, I have Dreadnought, and as much as we had fun in games before, it all gets very, very serious now between these two teams. And we're looking at it, it's one of the best finals we could have hoped for.
It was the finals that initially was projected, Team Dignitas maybe being the only team who could take games off of Gen.G. But then things went a little haywire when Dignitas showed in the group stage, floundering versus Method 1-1, losing to Tempest 0-2. But since then, Dig on Land continues to pull through.
I think I agree with a lot of that, is that we expect them to be here. The same way that we heard from Ballistics members earlier, we also realize that Dignitas expects greatness out of themselves. There's the reason why they brought in a player like Wubby. You got to imagine if he's leaving Fnatic and you can pick that player up, obviously a Swede here in Sweden, that's going to be fun for the fans. So it's also something he's very familiar with here in the finals.
And even though, you know, as we heard in that kind of pitch before from Snitch, the idea of leaving a legacy and what that would leave, I can't help but feel like the ones leaving the legacy after this series is likely going to be that of Gen.G. Not only, again, with the opportunity to kind of break their own record, but then again, earning the only title that this roster is still yet to kind of claim, the Mid-Season Brawl.
Let's take a look at the prize pool, see how much is on the line here for this one series. Bear in mind, Gen.G comes in with a best of a one-map advantage here in this best of 7. $100,000 is on the line for first place. Second place has already guaranteed themselves $50,000 in this position. So not too much small chunks of change here as we continue things on, Gilly. But realistically, again, it's not just about the prize money on the line here. It's about the prestige and that beautiful trophy.
Right, and as Dredd was talking about legacy, Gen.G already has one heck of a legacy in Heroes of the Storm. They pretty much are Heroes Esports, the first ever HGC champions. They have the longest win streak. This is the only tournament left for them to put their title on, but Team Dignitas has been trying forever to win a fully international event, and this is their best chance yet.
It's an opportunity. Let's take a look at the bracket as well to see their teams road through onto this grand final. You can see that Gen.G up towards the top has already faced Dignitas once, but since then, Dignitas towards the bottom has come through with flying colors and was able to dismantle Tempest. And Tempest, it kind of is a little bit of a gauge as to how they can fare against the Koreans, but Gen.G is a whole different beast.
They very much are. The Tempest is a team that does not have the same macro sense that we see from Gen.G. They have the capabilities to go on toe-to-toe with the best in the world when it comes to team fighting, but when it comes to, again, those rotations, and I feel like, especially when talking about going up against Europe, that was, I can't help but feel like part of the reason we saw such dominance there from Dignitas. But I want to bring to light a point that I think mattered in the last series for Dignitas against Tempest, but it's really going to matter here against Gen.G. And it's adaptation. The fact that we are moving to a best of 7, there is one game advantage in favor of Gen.G. If Dignitas has any shot here, it's going to be flexing through a draft and reacting here. And it's important to say, not just reacting, not overreacting, like things of the Sergeant Hammer that we've seen from Gen.G.
And Jay, how we saw those potential flexes and some kind of interesting picks up against Tempest from Dignitas.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what we talk about in terms of draft, it's going to equate, I think, a lot to their macro play. I actually want to go on what 2 points that we just heard from them, is that the adaptation in that game to prepare for Korea, you have to be able to understand that they will be diving your forts, they will be punishing your solo lane. And in that first series against Gen.G, I think Wubby got targeted, and then Korea tried to do the same, but when we got later in the stages of Dragonshire, we saw Dignitas, they responded with a little bit. Then they're like, guys, we need to respond with a lot more. And I think that adaptation within the game game, and playing against Korea earlier twice now, they understand the mindset, the mentality that they have to have, and how to adapt in those games. So I think a lot of that will be shown here.
Well, let's take a look at our first team making our way to the stage here, to the grand finals. It's difficult to debate as to whether or not they are the best team in the world right now. It's Gen.G.
이번 미드 시즌이 진짜 많이 중요하고 저희에게 이제 마지막 우승 이제 나머지 하나 남은 우승은 이제 남은 거기 때문에 꼭 정말 이기고 싶습니다.
In game number 1, a bit too risky, and Gen.G with a perfect game here.
Downward Punisher is baited. They dominated the early game. Gen.G is just killing everything. Gen.G in dominating fashion.
모든 대회를 한 번씩 다 우승해보는 그런 경험을 꼭 해보고 싶습니다.
디그니타스와 하는 거는 정말 바라지 않았었는데 너무 힘들 것 같고 저희가 그만큼 준비를 한 게 많으니까 아마 다 보여줄 수 있을 것 같아요. 결승전에 올라가서 정말 기쁘지만 아직 우승을 한 게 아니라 안심하기 이른 것 같아요.
37-0. They are a 6 out of 5-star roster in Heroes of the Storm. Please make welcome to the stage, Gen.G! The question on everyone's minds is can gods bleed? And at the moment, Gen.G looks untouchable. This roster is en route to claim themselves a championship, but will they falter?
If they make it through this series, 3 games in a row, and they're done with the series, they will, no doubt, in anyone's mind, be able to best their own record. This team, ever since the grand finals of the Eastern Clash, has been King Kong, swatting at helicopters, any team trying to face them, but no one has made them bleed.
It just seems like the evolution of this team. I remember being somewhat critical of certain members of this team coming into Mid-Season Brawl last year, including Tist, and it seemed like he was adapting to that role still. And now all of a sudden you look at all of the elements of this team and you try and find a weakness, and it's almost like there is none. It doesn't matter what they draft. It doesn't matter when they draft it. It seems like they always have the ability to pick whatever they want and dominate with it, with a clear mindset of how their team functions and how to counter you right out of the gate.
And that highlights a very big point here for Gen.G, is that they have some of the most unique drafting adjustments and priority that I feel like we've seen from this tournament. That being said, by winning every game, they also have some of the smallest sample sizes that we can possibly look for. But you know, you said, is there a weakness on this roster? I can't help but feel like it felt like long ago, once they ended up getting Sake moving over to the support and things of the like, there was kind of no weakness. And then you got the cherry on top there with Noblesse transitioning over, and then that I feel like is a key element as to why we see such kind of, I want to say random, and it very much is not random, but random draft adjustments and priority. And it's so difficult. I've been studying it all morning and I still can't figure out some of the decisions.
Well, that's why I say the 6 out of 5-star roster, because it feels like they have a 6th member on the field in Noblesse, who himself, the coach behind them, is a world champion in his own right.
Yeah, founded the team that is Ballistics now with his old teammate SCSC, went away, came back, and ever since then, man, Gen.G have won the World Championship, the first ever HGC Championship, and then they've kept going from there. There was the brief Part 1 pause where they figured out some new roles, they adapted to the meta, but since then, they have been gods.
I think the most important thing, though, is, Jay Howe, is that when a streak occurs, all streaks eventually come to an end. It could potentially happen here, but Gen.G just looks formidable.
They do, but I think you got to look at the interview that we heard from Rich, is the amount of respect he puts towards the players of Dignitas. Everybody is very much aware of Wubby, somebody who's been to every finals for going on almost 2 years now, and for him to be here, he knows what it takes. He has that championship medal within himself. Although the rest of the Dignitas roster hasn't had the same success, when this roster formed after the retirement of Bakery and then bringing on Wubby at the end of last year, they went to Gold Club and they put on a show right out of the gate, and everybody since then, nobody knew what the expectations were going to be, but that set the expectations from that very first tournament, and then their performance throughout the league format has definitely put them near the top.
And one thing that, you know, even though we see Gen.G and we look at the drafting and the dominance that they have kind of in that, there is one element that I think we can all look at and go, there is a moment of weakness, and it's got to be the biggest strength for Team Dignitas, and if there's any chance they have to rely, not only the adaptation, but the macro sense. We have seen Gen.G make decisions that are objectively high risk, low reward, and just rely on their individual outplay capabilities to just go, we are better than you, we will bully you around on this battleground. And if they do that too much, Dignitas is a team that will not only punish, they will end up turning around the game and never letting go.
And let's bring them on the stage then as we welcome the West representatives here to the Mid-Season Brawl for their second grand final in a row for the MSB. It's Team Dignitas.
Honestly, I just want to beat them really badly now and take a map and hopefully the whole series.
I've been close to winning before. I've been to Game 7 of the MSB and I've lost. So I'm not ready to feel like I've won at any point until I'm lifting the trophy. So I'm just going to keep putting in hard work and hope that my teammates do the same. Like, we've kind of fulfilled the dream we wanted of this high-level international team that can compete with these Korean teams. I think it would be very exciting to face Gen.G again. I felt like most of the games, either team can win. So I'd be really excited to play them again. I hope that we'd have a better record than we did. You know, obviously I'd love to win, but they look incredible this sort of.
We're more than ready to win. Gen.G, we're coming for you.
The back-to-back finalists here from 2017. Please make welcome to the stage the best from the West, Team Dignitas. And let me tell you, right now they are out for blood. They were thwarted by Gen.G in the upper bracket, but they do not want to let that happen once again. They've been to final after final after final, and they're looking to round it out here, Gilly.
In every game, there are players and there are teams that the more games they play, the more they ramp up. Dignitas is one of those such teams. We look at StarCraft, Trap, and Leanox, those are great examples too. Dignitas on LAN is a real thing. It happened Western Clash last year, and this team has been ramping up this whole tournament. The crowd is behind them. The momentum is behind them. This is where Dignitas thrives.
Let's paint the picture of Dignitas a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, but moving into last year. They sought out the Koreans by boot camping there to prepare for large tournaments because they felt like that was the superior region, that was the superior team. And then you take a look at last year at this very event, and then Dignitas became the Korean Slayers, took out several of the top Korean teams, and that mindset changed in terms of what do we need to do to prepare. And now all of a sudden it's just looking within themselves, realizing that they've done it. They've been there, and now they're doing it on the grandest of stages here at the Mid-Season Brawl, outside of maybe BlizzCon. But even with all that behind them, they still have a very tough task, but it seems like they're in the right mindset.
And even though Team Dignitas is a team that, as you said, Gilly, they, you know, as they play more games, they are able to get that kind of ramp up in performance. There's one player on the roster that I feel like is the exact opposite, and not so much when looking at their career, but in this tournament, and that's Wubby. He has been a go-to standard. He is a rock within Europe. He has always been at the top of that region, but at this tournament, I would argue he was maybe one of the highest underperforming heroes, or players, excuse me, at the tournament. He has been able to, again, kind of revise that, as we saw a little bit in the later kind of back end of yesterday and the results from Dignitas, but that is something that Gen.G has been looking at, I guarantee, and go, we can pick on this guy, we can make something happen there. And so Wubby has to step up if they're going to have a shot.
So it is a best of 7. Gen.G comes in with a 1-0 advantage. So let's basically say this is game 2 of this series right now. It's going to be on Volskaya Foundry here as Dignitas takes us to the map.
A battleground that both of these teams have shown that they're willing to pick, also a battleground with a lot of similar favored heroes, and we have seen Blaze rise and rise in priority and win rate throughout this bracket stage. I expect that to be a high priority here. Probably Gen.G, definitely Johanna too.
Yeah, I said yesterday that I thought Malfurion might get to that almost first pick, first ban level rotation, especially against opponents like Gen.G. I think I misspoke. I meant Blaze, because it is very much the bunker seems to be a higher problem, mainly mainly because of the synergy and the trade-offs and impact that he has into that off lane. And right now, globals and things like Dahaka that we normally see answer just don't pack the same punch that hero does with just one nice fortitude just dropped onto the battleground.
That's right.
I like the fact that Dignitas is picking this battleground because it's something that where we've seen Gen.G, they've used the Tash Tracer and they've dominated with it, but at the same time, this is where we all actually got our Sergeant Hammer game, and it was, okay, you're gonna pick Garrosh. Well, I have one knockback, and then by level 4, I have a self-cleanse, so no matter what, I'm staying away from you. And it was, you talk about problem solving within games, that was a problem that Tempo Storm couldn't figure out, and I think preparing to get to this point, Dignitas will have had strategies ready for this moment.
All right, let's get into it. It's game number 1 here of the grand finals for the mid-season brawl. Gen.G goes up against Team Dignitas. We start things on Volskaya Foundry.
And with such high priority on Gen.G from both these teams, but especially Dignitas through the bracket stage, Gen.G is going to ban Genji, and then Dignitas takes away the Tracer, still giving Malfurion, and Gen.G will take it. But let's see where Blaze and where Johanna factor in.
It may just be a 1-2 at this point. Just with, again, Gen.G was probably the highest priority Johanna value in the entirety of the tournament. The rest of the team has very much responded to that. And Dig and the Western world had higher Blaze kind of level of, again, selection, even when looking at HGC North America and Europe. So I would like to see that at minimum a Blaze here. The Johanna locked in, and again, that Blaze.
And we've seen from them, they want to take away the dive potential. So Genji off the board, Tracer off the board. You take away some of that dive, and then we've seen them go into the likes of something like a Deckard Cain. Obviously, it's going to be dependent on how much burst damage might be on the other side. But you can see Dignitas doesn't want members in their back line. They have control with the bunker and Johanna there, of course, but it's a matter of neutralizing as much as they can. So if the Jaina comes out, if the Deckard Cain comes out, those are things to keep in mind for Gen.G as they look at their second and third picks here.
Not gonna lie, I'm pretty surprised that this is taking this long for Gen.G.
Yeah, me too.
The Johanna Blaze seems like a pretty predictable rotation for Dignitas. Again, with knowing what Gen.G has been prioritizing and what we got from Dignitas within their last series against Tempest. I don't dare say that they're on the back foot as early as this, but it is a little bit different than what we would normally expect.
One thing I wonder about is Hanzo. Yes, Hanzo, and then they steal the Jaina away. Dignitas has shown the highest priority of Jaina, I believe, of any team, at least here in the bracket stage as it goes higher and higher up before the mid bans. And here Gen.G steal it away. That has been a very integral pick for Team Dignitas. We'll see how they respond.
Well, I think right now when you're on the side of Dignitas, you got to look at things that can deal with burst damage. Uther is not the answer in a lot of situations on Volskaya because these fights last so long and that armor does not come quickly. Yes, Johanna and Blaze can kind of take care of themselves, but you have to look at other options. And I feel that in the series that we saw previously, there has been that focus on taking away something like a Phoenix who can give you that sustain and then throughout create a lot of problems, and you can't really dive on that with the Hanzo Jaina. So if I'm Gen.G, I think we might be looking at that, but for Dignitas, clearly the Warriors and the support, or excuse me, the Warrior and the offlaner have to come to mind here when you think about Hyocha, and of course that front line for Tist.
Yeah, with Dignitas, if they don't get Blaze, they are more likely to move into a Dahaka, but Hyocha hasn't played Dahaka at all this tournament. The one that they had, the one time they didn't, or played Dahaka, it was reset. So it's more likely to get maybe a Sonya here or a Leoric. So a heads up ban from Dignitas that they ban that.
I'm really glad that we actually got that Leo instead of something, again, like the Garrosh with how much value Garrosh has had in this situation. Gen.G has not been afraid of dealing with Garrosh. Even majority of the games we saw bans out from the only 2 games that they actually been comfortable selecting that. And Johanna, perfect response to it from Dignitas. So this is one of those moments when I said not overreacting, and I feel like that's a moment where they hit the pause button, they go, we don't need to ban out the Garrosh here, look more to the offlane pressure. This is very heads up, Dignitas showing they've done their research.
I feel Stukov, obviously, because you can almost expect a Sonya on the other side. So obviously Johanna does well to interrupt that. Maybe we see something different from Hyocha. But I think with the interrupts, maybe a Stukov, they're still going to stick with Deckard. And this time we're going to get a Li Ming. I think Phoenix is still going to be cautiously approached on that last pick, but you still get that burst damage. You cannot simply rely on skill shots. Obviously, it's a little bit easier when Johanna's pulling them together, but I think a lot of it will be in terms of that sustained auto attack damage that we might get. And they might even surprise us with something. But Gen.G, see if they go Sonya here.
Dignitas has an absolutely ludicrous amount of just control, you know, with the Blaze, and more important, control and time as well. With Blaze and Bunker, with Stay a While and Listen, they very much get to kind of choose whatever skirmish they would like. And I can't help but feel like whatever pick we see from Gen.G, it's going to be something to try and answer against that. They end up going with a more generic here, if you will, a more what we would expect, Sonya Garrosh rotation. But I feel like Dignitas expected from beginning to end almost everything, but maybe the Jaina. That's the only wild hair, and it's not even that wild from Gen.G. So Dignitas has to be very, very satisfied with what they have here, no matter what this last pick is.
Something we haven't seen from Dignitas really at all has been a Junkrat, and it's something that used to be very common on this battleground. I think Phoenix has kind of taken over the role of being on that backline to do damage, but you get the Falstad, who's definitely risen in priority since we got here at DreamHack.
Remember that immense amount of control I was talking about? Just added another one there with the Mighty Gust opportunity.
Thoughts, Jay-How?
I mean, it looks good. I mean, I mentioned it earlier, Snitch really made his name on Falstad for quite some time. Again, I think it gives a little bit of control. I'm not as big of a fan of the early game damage of Falstad. I think later in the game when you start looking at Giant Killers stacking up that seasoned marksman against the Garrosh, it definitely has more late game strength than early game strength. So that first protector, we know how strong it is. We'll see if they can maybe take control of that.
Dignitas played a fantastic game on Volskaya Foundry versus Tempest just earlier today. They had a lot of control, also a lot of understanding of how to effectively deal with that first protector. So I think what they have is good here.
Predictions, it's time.
I know everybody expects, you know, until Gen.G loses, we're going to see the go with that. But I am going to still fall here with Gen.G based on, again, the early game aggression that Dignitas has on their side. But then also, though, Dignitas does know how to respond to Volskaya Foundry protectors. I feel like they've made some questionable decisions on the macro. And again, I think that is going to be the go-to for them if they win this series. So it's one of those situations where I don't think they've shown enough there, and I give it to Gen.G.
Okay.
The early game kill potential between a Garrosh and a Jaina, I think, is very, very strong. And then obviously, Hanzo and Rich going hand in hand there, just annihilating people. It feels like a tale of two halves, but I think that first half is going to be way too dominant for Dignitas to come back, so I'm going with Gen.G.
Okay.
You won't say it, but I will. Until Gen.G loses a game, I'm not voting against them, Gen.G.
All right. And it pains me to do this, but screw it, I'm going with Dignitas anyway. It doesn't matter.
Who would have thought?
There we go, that's right. Although Gen.G looks really good.
Caveat.
Let's check in with the Twitch chat as well. 35 to 65%. Again, the Grandmasters in the chat here apparently know way more than we do in this instance. So that's going to be exciting to see how it evolves out as well here for our grand final of the Mid-Season Brawl. Let's check in with our commentators now as we are almost ready for the first game. Kaldor, Trixler, are you ready?
We are definitely ready. The tension in here is insane, and I'm literally at the edge of my seat at this point.
No, he's not. He's in the center of it, hilarious. He's a dirty liar, but we're excited for this match.
Sounds good. All right, bring us the grand final, boys.
You called out, man.
This is going to be absolutely amazing. The arena here is already hyped, and so are we. This is going to be Gen.G against Europe, against Dignitas, and they have looked absolutely perfect throughout the tournament.
That they have. And Gen.G immediately here on the left side will walk their way out straight to the middle of the map. Let's go ahead and get excited for this best of 7 series. Sake playing Malfurion, Rich on Hanzo, Reset on Jaina, Kyocho on Sonya, Tis on Garrosh. It's going to be Gen.G.
And over to the right side of the map. Volskaya, we have JPL on Johanna, Wooby on Blaze, Zelia on Deckard Kane, Poik on Li Ming, Snitch on Falstad. Ladies and gentlemen, Team Dignitas!
Dignitas and their last 2 series has looked like they are back in form, and they are going to need it. Gen.G has been a formidable foe for many teams, but they continue to stomp as they run through this tournament. Gen.G 37-0 so far.
They are looking immortal. They have not looked shaky once. 37-0, and they are here to make this a perfect tournament, a perfect international, unheard of in HGC history.
So far, though, Dignitas gets straight to the lanes. Tis started coming, bringing that aggression that we're so accustomed to when it comes to Gen.G. Looking for some kills, but Dignitas for now just continues to soak. And we're going to wait for some levels to come online for them. Level 7 important for Li Ming and Falstad to make sure that they have that wave clear, but also the damage and kills.
Dignitas looked good against Tempest, but Gen.G, when they were playing just yesterday, they looked fantastic. They made no mistake, and the snap decision-making that we saw from Gen.G allowed them several times to just obliterate and delete heroes from the game.
One of the things that Gen.G does so well, and you just saw it there, is they do a lot of skill tests, right? They jump into scenarios where they're saying, okay, are you doing the right play right now? And Dignitas so far, we're only a minute in, but they have held well. There has not been a single moment of weakness yet. Hanzo coming over to drop the scatter arrows, see if turrets are being grabbed, as Dignitas does the exact same thing on their side of the map.
Now, Gen.G already holds, of course, that 1-0 lead in this best-of-7 series through the advantage they get through the winner's bracket. But at the same time, I can't help myself. This is so insane at this point. Everybody is looking, and everybody's watching, and everybody's thinking, can Dignitas maybe pull this off? But Whoopi is in trouble. Deckard comes in, and with a jet propulsion, he gets away, but no! Sonya comes in from the side, and Kyocha with the kill.
Kyocha has been lethal on Sonya, and he shows why. Coming up, getting that kill. Gen.G bringing all 5 members of the top lane as they're going to look for a support camp. Falstad still staying in the bottom as Dignitas has to give away this item.
At this point, once again, the item, they have to let it go. This is just not enough time for Blaze to come back into the rotation and help out here. So the item advantage goes over to Gen.G. Such a fantastic flank here that we just saw from Johanna, and just anticipating already the escape path that we saw from Blaze and making sure that they can confirm that first kill.
Oh, we're going to keep an eye on stacks here. Falstad already at 6 of the 40. He needs to finish off that season marksman. This build has been one that we've been seeing pretty often from Snitch in particular. We've had a couple of Gathering Storms come online, but Dignitas looks for that late game opportunity. They want to wait towards level 10, where they're able to grab that bunker, play around that cleanse ability, but also the moments where they can make sure they can dive an opponent, but have that safety net that we've seen so many times this tournament.
Yeah, at this point, it's, of course, once again about the Protector here as well. And we are talking also a bit about late game here, of course, when we are looking at the composition and the Falstad season marksman, that you pointed out earlier. That's going to be something that will put the pressure on Garrosh in particular. But it's really about this objective right now. And already we're having Gen.G's trying to get position here. They're blocking JPL, and Johanna is very low. That's not a good start for Dignitas into the first phase of the objective.
No, that is not. Gen.G knowing that JPL is one of the main anchors here for Dignitas to hold this control point, put a lot of pressure on him on the front line. Now he will get healed up. He's going to run to the top side and help out Blaze in terms of clearing the mercenary camp, but JPL being low allows Gen.G to grab a decent amount of points on that control.
And Reset once again here on the Jaina. He has so much burst potential, and he's really using that to pressure Dignitas from the get-go. But of course, he also needs to make the transition to the top lane to grab the experience, especially in the early game. Oh, there's the kill against Hanzo! Dignitas! They see the opportunity, they go in, he drops the beacon just before he falls, but Dignitas with an important kill, and they immediately start to claim the control point.
That's one way that you'll find kills on Gen.G. You got to see the smallest of opportunities. Gen.G setting up for a rotation to come down the bottom control point, with Sonya in the bottom and Jaina on the top. They knew they had a quick 4v3. Dignitas now walks over and works on grabbing their own percentage on the point, but Tist, he's not afraid. He's still trying to contest the area.
Yeah, but Dignitas is definitely now in a position where they are saying, we are not playing passive here. We are going to make sure that from game number 1, we come in swinging and try to put the fight to our opponent. They learned from the earlier series against Gen.G. They didn't take a map, but you could really tell that there is a progress happening.
I feel like morale is going to be important for Dignitas for this entire matchup, and getting a win here, as you mentioned, coming out firing is one way to keep that morale up and high. Gen.G has a way of kind of demoralizing your team as they beat you down game after game. Gen.G already getting some pressure here on top of JPL. He has to pop the Iron Skin. Here comes the turret as Dignitas will siege away. Falstad grabbing the turret, though, on the bottom right, looking to fight afterwards.
Really good poke by Dignitas against the turret, though. And also, with talent adjustments, we once again see on Deckard Kane's side, Emerald taken on level 7. It's all about that healing reduction that we can see later on in the game. Here comes the flip against Whoopi, though, and he's in trouble.
He is in trouble. He's getting low. He turns around. Has to get killed on Sonya. Whoopi is still standing. Tiss is low next, but Blaze eventually taken out, but Dignitas able to trade out for a 2-on-1.
And they're going for Reset. They're trying to make a triple, and they get him! The triple kill as Dignitas claims the space.
Dignitas able to turn that engage into a fight for their own. They also drop double turrets, and they look to control the point, and they'll get the Protector.
Dignitas with an early game lead here. They get the first Protector, and now it's important for them. Take the wall in the middle, rotate to the top, and try to apply the pressure to the top forward. Take that fountain down, and we already see Falstad in position to push the waves in.
And we're in a spot where we see Gen.G actually behind Dignitas in experience, a full level and a quarter. Dignitas hits level 10, gets their heroics, and still have room for a fort.
They get level 10, they can jump behind the fort now if they want, but we have Blaze at the bot lane. Falstad actually starts to fly in. Gus, Kyoja is in trouble. Point comes in, they're trying to get the kill. Hanzo falls at the top in the meantime. Dignitas is putting the pressure on Gen.G in game number 1. The team that hasn't lost in 37 games is all of a sudden on the back foot.
Kyoja is counting his lucky stars, having that whirlwind ability, able to go through the bunker, not getting body blocked, allowed for him to retreat, and it looks like a fort will also fall. Dignitas is coming out firing as they called out, but Tis, he wants to stop it. He goes for Zelia.
They're going in level 10, so no, they don't care. Reset needs to be careful here because we have Wooby coming in. The jet propulsion hits, but once again, Tist walking away with the Indomitable. But Dignitas holds a 2-level lead, Tim.
I cannot believe you're actually saying that here in game number 1. Dignitas holding the lead, but Gen.G, they still have a chance here. 10 is about to hit for them, and that's when they become electric. One of the things we've seen time and time again in this tournament, when they decide they want to get a kill, they'll snap.
After we've seen them dominate this tournament, everybody was asking the question, can Dignitas take a map? Will Gen.G move through this grand final and just absolutely dominate their opponent once again? Or has Dignitas evolved enough to their final form where they can take on the Korean team? And in game number 1, Dignitas takes a 2-level lead and pushes back against Gen.G, threatening to win the first map against the Koreans in ages.
But Gen.G so far unfazed. They're actually looking for an aggressive play. Seeing Blaze in the top lane, they move in for JPL. They throw him over. Tis in trouble though. He gets blown up as Poik finds a reset. Wubby coming from behind. He jumps on reset.
Dignitas with kill after kill. Here comes Falstad. He goes into the bunker. Johanna moves in, and that's the end of Jano. Mercilessly Dignitas moving forward and collecting the kills. 7 kills against 2.
The thing I was worried about Dignitas was whether or not they would run out of steam. Against Gen.G, they got in a couple of matches where they got to the late game, and they looked like they'd be able to get wins, but they needed to not get complacent, and so far, they have not. There's a pick there. You love Snitch flying over, not fully getting the gust he wanted, but being able to get 2 kills is a great run for Dig.
Rich said it in the interview. This is not the result they wanted. They didn't want to go up against Dignitas. They wanted to play against Tempest, against a team that they know way better. But Dignitas now, they come in, and even with a loss in the winner bracket, they say, we can still take this. And all of a sudden, Gen.G has to look at this game and have to say, how do we deal with this? How do we just establish dominance once again and make sure that Dignitas is not able, in game number 1, to tie that series?
They have the ability with the Dragon Zero. Sonya being able to get in the back line would be great too. So far, Garrosh has been overstepping slightly and trying to throw JPL into every fight. Dignitas seems prepared and ready for that. So I'd love for Gen.G to approach the next fight a little bit slower there. Make sure to have the Dragon Zero to hit Falstad in particular and try to burn him there.
Dignitas has to be careful now, and they know it too. Gen.G with level 10s is such a dangerous opponent to face. And the Korean teams, all of them, have shown over and over again how strong they are once that they have the heroic abilities. Dignitas is still holding on to that level lead though. They have the experience advantage, and that also means they have their level 13 talent. To the top, position advantage goes to them as well. They have taken out that fort earlier.
Dignitas has that lead, but you still have to have that doubt. You have to respect Gen.G. Already, Rich runs the top lane. He'll start clearing out this minion wave that has been pushing in, but Dignitas can take this opportunity to grab the control point that has spawned towards the top. And here's the good news for them too. They have a well. They have a place to sustain and pull away in case a fight does not break out well for them.
Gen.G is playing a bit hesitant here. In an ideal world, they would try and get level 13 and then engage into the objective.
Yeah.
But Dignitas is already meeting them here in the mid lane. Johanna even rotating down, trying to put some extra pressure onto Kyoja. Blessed Shield is actually missing. JPL trying to set a kill up, but it didn't work out.
The missed heroic could hurt them. Gen.G now about to hit 13, makes their way over to the control point, and Tist will grab it for now. The rest of Gen.G is keeping an eye on where exactly Dignitas is, and they were near that support camp as they circle around, wanting to get an extra item here, but with Sonya able to get 13, Gen.G is now in a spot where they can fight.
Dignitas had a fantastic early game, but they cannot get complacent, not against Gen.G. This is the team that will push you to the limit, and they're grabbing the healing pulse. The biotic emitter is in their hands as Dignitas invaded the bottom left and took another turret. They won 16. They would love to have another talent advantage, and that's where their global also plays another big role. But Snitch needs to be careful that there's no ganks against them. And Gen.G is playing a lot with vision at this point.
That they are. They have an important talent here for them as well. With Ice Block coming on from Malfurion, you're able to make sure to dodge out hard engages that come away, and also Icy Veins. If Reset can get a kill, he can make sure to chase down Dignitas by applying that chill.
Snitch with the value. He gets the fort in the bot lane. They have their 16. This is the moment where you want to fight. This is the moment where you go for it. But it's a bit early. Wooby with an early bunker, and immediately Jaina trying to burst it down. Falstad is joining the battle as we're seeing Gen.G fighting for that spot, fighting for that position.
Keep an eye on Kyocha. Kyocha willing to move in at any point if he's able to land a spear. JPL holding that front line. Wubby goes for Jet Propulsion. Nature's Cure does come out. Wubby on the back line trying to get the harassment. The triangle comes out. Reset is low, but he's still alive. Blaze gets taken down instead.
Blaze is down, but Reset is also in trouble. They counter kill against Garrosh. It's already happening. Look at Kyocha. He falls. Sonya is dead. The resets are coming in as Poik is delivering the combos.
A 2-for-1 in the favor of Dignitas, and they look to continue to control the point. There are 51% right now, but with some time on the timers here for Gen.G, they should not be able to contest it. Instead, they turn their attention to the middle lane. Let's work on turrets, work on experience.
Dignitas delayed that attack as long as they could. They waited for 16. They allowed Gen.G to get 99% on the objective before they started to contest it and move in. Perfect timing by them.
Boy.
But the counter kill here. Poik gets caught as Gen.G is looking for kills on the other side of the map.
With a group of 3, able to pick off Li Ming there. It's going to hurt Dignitas, but they should be just fine. Protector comes online for them, so that at least they have the map objective available to them. And don't forget, they also have Falstad. If they want to pull him out of that Protector, they have that global ability they can also use.
Gen.G is going to have 16 really soon here. 9 kills against 4. Nobody really thought that Dignitas would be immediately in the lead here in the first game of the series. Everybody was looking to Gen.G, and they have now to really come into their own to make sure that they're shutting Dignitas down as the European team is looking for more structures to eliminate.
They're looking for experience. They want to jump up and move their way towards level 20. Gen.G about to hit that 16, and they open up with a fight. Kyocha popping the Wrath, putting some damage on that Immortal, and they'll get at least a quarter damage on it.
Li Ming just came back, but she's not in the fight yet. That gives Gen.G an advantage. Oh, nice save beyond Kyocha. Well played by Tis with Garrosh. Great play by Gen.G, but they cannot save that fort.
Can't save the fort, and they can't save the well. So the experience grabbed by Dignitas. They still have some time on this Protector, and with Li Ming about to join the battle, they're going to go straight for this keep wall, and that's some additional experience that they could use.
Gen.G is losing so much infrastructure here. Level 17, nearly 18 for Dignitas. Even talents, though. Once again, the retreat called. And this is really one of those moments where Dignitas have to prove that they're disciplined enough, that they are calm and collected, that they are in a position where they can play to their advantages and buy some time.
And they are disciplined. They pull away, they go straight for turrets, not giving Gen.G the moment to have an even fight. Remember, at any point, Rich can let that arrow fly, the Dragon's Arrow, forcing the fight on Decker Kane, even trying to pick up Falstad or Li Ming.
And talking about Falstad, he's sitting at 37 stacks right now. He's close to completing the quest,
3 more.
But here comes Dignitas. They want to contest this. They don't want to give it up, but they have to. The Gust is not really as effective as they were hoping for. Wooby was not quite in position to launch that jet propulsion and drop the bunker on the point.
But again, the discipline shows for Dignitas. The Mighty Gust not where they want it to be, not able to get the engage they want. They pull away and try not to force a fight. Tranquility's about to be up here for Gen.G, so look for them to try and force something, and they do. In the bottom lane, Garrosh comes in, and he finds Blaze.
Gen.G is showing why they are currently one, if not the best team in the world. They find the kill that is so desperately needed, and they go immediately on the attack. They move in, and there is a lot of infrastructure still available that they could take down to close that experience gap. Dignitas, of course, they want to go to 20 with this. They want to have their Storm Talents ready for the next objective so that they have once more the advantage going into a big fight.
But I'm starting to get worried for Dignitas. Gen.G is starting to really grab those items, having 2 healing pulse and 2 turrets available on them. They have 1 more spot available to grab another one here if a turret spawns up pretty soon. And having that on the control point, it's a lot of strength.
Yeah, it definitely is. And currently Dignitas, they just have to calm down here. They had isolation kills against them on Poik, on Wooby. Li Ming and Blaze both died over the past few minutes, and that gave Gen.G an opening into the game. They are only 1 level behind right now, but Dignitas is still in the lead. And these level 20 talents are going to make all the difference.
Dignitas sieging away in the bottom, but Gen.G finally gets their prize. Grabbing experience and jumping up to 18.5, but Dignitas, meanwhile, has been soaking middle and top. Falstad using that global ability. He's got 19.5, half a level away from 20, but he has to be careful. Gen.G has set their eyes on trying to catch Falstad.
And of course, once again, we have on 13 and 16 for Blaze full league
Snitch.
and the thermal protection. Here comes another attempt, though, to go for that counter kill, but Snitch popping the ult, not wasting a second, dropping the cooldown immediately, just realizing that they need to make sure they are staying alive until 20.
45 seconds, we'll have that Mighty Gust back. 20 about to hit. A sliver of experience away. Wubby making his way straight to the control point. Gen.G knowing they're behind here, start to soak and even look towards maybe fighting over this spawn point of the support camp. But that's a good 45 seconds. Dignitas will have the 20, and there it is. It hits.
The fortified bunker alone is such a fantastic tool for them right now. And of course, Johanna looking at the indestructible now as well is just fantastic here. We're even having epic mount chosen. We've seen so many wind tunnel plays, but in this case, it's all about the mobility for Snitch. He wants to have the ability to go cross map immediately, not waste any time here. And once again, they're defending the top lane, whereas down to the bottom, you have the rotation. All of a sudden, Blaze is coming in. They're looking for the fight right now. They're trying to set that up. Jet propulsion any second, and there it is. They're hitting that. Can they take Tis down? The fortified bunker is in play as they're moving, and the Condemn is already used, but Tis is moving back. More and more stuns coming as the Tranquility is keeping them alive. The counter push against Zelia. Here comes Kyoja. Sonya wants the kill, but Zelia is still protected.
Wubby with the jet propulsion keeps him alive, but Kyoja also gets saved as Tis tosses him to safety. Dignitas able to survive, but so has Gen.G. Immediately, though, Falstad with that epic mount flies to the bottom and gets more points to control.
Dignitas in a bit of an awkward spot there. They gave up the objective control because they said, boys, we can force a fight with Storm Talents. We have that advantage. Let's force that fight and try and get a kill. If we can do that, we might be able to get objective and go for core. But it didn't work out. Gen.G survives. They nearly get a counter kill, but Falstad immediately making the play, going to the bot lane, trying to secure that protector. But look at the experience here. Gen.G is about to hit level 20, and they are back again at the top to make sure that they have another item over their opponents.
That is certainly an issue. If Dignitas had gotten a kill with that fight, it would have made a lot of sense and worked out for them. But now with Gen.G having all 5 up and hitting 20, they have a chance to run straight to the bottom lane and actually try to grab this protector. Dignitas, meanwhile, has 54% currently on the control point, and they're going to keep an eye on Tis. Tis is the one that's going to try and force this fight and try to get into that area.
And Dignitas, they were ahead for a long time with 2 levels at some point. But if you look at the map right now, they have not taken a single keep yet. It is dead even at this point. A few more infrastructures for Dignitas, granted. But when it really comes down to it, you want these keeps. Here comes Snitch. They're trying to make that play. Just not too effective here as they're still dodging around the protector. They have the lead, but can they find that kill in their opening?
That Gust was trying to find reset. Hyde would have been a great pick as well, but they sidestep it pretty darn well. Dignitas grabs him anyway and get it pushing. Tis comes from behind, goes in for the groundbreaker. He looks for Snitch, but Wubby standing next to there drops the bunker and allows Dignitas to have some safety.
The arrow whiffs completely, and at this point we're having Garrosh in a lot of trouble, and he's not the only one. Kyoja moving back here. The items are being dropped, especially that healing emitter, but that was a great dodge here. Nobody getting hit by the bunker was huge. Here comes the Stale and Wild and Listen, and they're trying to make it into a Stale and Wild and get wrecked, but it's not quite working out for them. A great throw by Garrosh, and once again, it's Wubby who's in trouble.
Wubby's in trouble. There's no Mighty Gust. He gets picked off as Gen.G's able to find that fight. Gen.G with 5 is looking for more too. Rich coming over, dropping a few arrows, but Gen.G not able to find a kill, but at least they're able to grab the control point. With 33% available, they're going to try and channel out all 100 to get that protector and start pushing the bottom lane.
Falstad moving out. I actually expected Snitch to try and transition aggressively towards the top lane, where Big Wave was pushing into the top keep, but he goes for the safe play here. They're falling back for now. They still have a lot available, but look at the rotation of Gen.G. They realize what's going on. They're saying, boys, if we can open that bottom wall, we might be able to do way more than only take a keep here.
They could go for the game. Gen.G immediately gets that keep wall, burns it down pretty well. A turret still stands. Combo comes out from Poik, though. Getting Tis low on health, they don't have to kite away. Even dropping the Indomitable just to make sure he can escape. And I have to call out Tis as well. That was actually a possible kill on Rich when Hanzo was locked down by the Stay on Listen, but he walked up, brought into the fray, into the mix, and was able to toss him out of the combo.
Dignitas is still ahead in kills, but that doesn't amount to anything if you're not able to take the structures down. And Gen.G at this point, they want their game. Blaze is back. Here comes Gen.G, 20 minutes into this first game that we have here, trying to make sure that they are taking it. At least the keep has to fall, and they are moving it aggressively for it.
Dignitas having a lead in this game, now suddenly on the back foot, defending their keep. They get shelled away pretty darn quickly. Kyocha in the front line leading the charge. Wubby gets hit with a Malfurion root, and Gen.G able to grab the creep, turn their eyes over towards the core.
This is not going to be easy for Dignitas, not at all. Gen.G, they want the victory, and they want it right now. In goes the Protector. Already the fortified bunker is on the ground as we are having Gen.G going for game number 1, but Dignitas mustering up the defense, looking for kills, not finding them just yet. JPL is already low, the shields are falling. The situation is dire for Dignitas, but Sonya falls.
They get Sonya, and we're going to have also Malfurion with the Ice Block on the back right. The core continue to get lowered, though. It's down to 40%. The Protector continues to focus. Rich stepping up to bring out the auto. This will be a kill. Li Ming's getting resets, trying to find those kills, but will it be enough? No! Gen.G is able to get a win and goes up 2-0 in the series.
Dignitas with a fantastic showing in the early game, a huge lead in experience, but once again, Gen.G comes in and on the back of this game, making a 38-0 in one game a reality. Great comeback by Gen.G, amazing play by them, but Dignitas definitely has shown that this grand final is going to be close.
They are here, and they're going to try and make Gods believe, but so far the Gods continue to be able to hold on to the record, 38-0. And you got to yell out for Tist. That style, well, listen, was